What's up, fam? Welcome back to Big Picture Podcast, where we discuss faith, testimonies, and perspectives while focusing on the big picture. I am your host, Susan Obi. Happy New Year. Happy 2026. It has been an eventful year so far. I actually was thinking back to when I started my podcast. It was in 2023. But it was the end of 2023. So technically I've been doing my podcast for just a little over 2 years, but we're still in the third year of my podcast. And it has been a really fun journey. It's kind of like having a diary and just looking back through the episodes, which I do periodically. It has been really a great opportunity and a pleasure to sit down with all the people that I've sat down with and just heard their stories, and just given them a platform to share their stories of things that they're learning, stories of faith, stories of growth. And it has just been a real encouragement and challenge to me as well, just hearing everyone's stories and experiences and then big picture perspective. So that's kind of why I started this podcast in the first place. I did take a longer break this year. I usually take a break over the holidays just because it's really, really busy. I did do that after Thanksgiving. And part of the reason why I took a little bit of an earlier break, which was either before, sometime in November, but I did travel to Nigeria in December. And well, actually I traveled in November and I got back in December, and I traveled because of my uncle's passing. So I did share in my episode, one of the first episodes I did, actually the first episode I did in 2025, I talked about my 4.5-week trip to Nigeria. So that was my first time in 2024. So December of 2024 to January of 2025, that was my first time traveling to Nigeria as an adult. Go back and listen to that episode. Such a beautiful and amazing experience that is even hard to describe in words. I do have one episode with Richard, one of my friends that I grew up with, and we just talked about being first generation Americans and having our roots, core of ourselves and family in Nigeria, and just what that experience is like. And I kind of talked about that a little bit with Robina, just talking about the Black culture and cultural aspects of kind of understanding who you are from a cultural standpoint and where your family's from and ancestors are from, and feeling at home where your family is. I think just traveling to Nigeria for that first time as an adult was just so amazing and really hard to describe in words, like I said, but I tried my best. So go and listen to that episode if you have not already. So I traveled again this time around, but this was because of my uncle's passing. I wasn't planning to travel again in 2025. I really wanted to, but I'm going to be traveling at the end of this year. So I was like, I can just wait to travel at the end of this year. But then in October, my grandma called me and she was asking me where I was. And so my grandma lived in Austin. So I told her that I was about to start class, about to work. And she was like, just wants to let you know that your uncle passed away. And that was really shocking because I just seen him in January of 2025. And then this was 9 or 10 months later that I got that news, and just immediately started crying because that was my first time meeting him in person, and we really, really connected. That's my mom's older brother. And I just learned so much from him, just about life and family history and just about the culture, Igbo culture, being a Nigerian, and just about people. I mean, we had really good conversations. I stayed in Lagos with them for about 9 days, and we spent a lot of time indoors, which was really beautiful, just talking, well, indoors, but sitting outside because it's really hot. So we sat outside a lot. That's when I decided I was going to travel. So I bought my ticket in November and traveled, and I was there for 9 days, which was a whirlwind. And we had the burial, which was really beautiful. It was really beautiful. It's done very differently there than it is here in the States. So back home in Nigeria, it's more of a celebration. So all of my family, so myself, my cousins, my aunties, my uncles, we all had the same pattern of clothes on. So that's kind of the tradition. So since we're all in the family and related to him, we're all wearing the same thing so that everyone who attends knows who the family is. And we had the waykeeping on Thursday, then we had the burial on Friday. And after we had the burial, everyone came back to my mom's side of the family's house. So my mom's father's, so the family home, my maternal grandfather's family home was where I stay when I go back. And so we had the celebration essentially after the burial, and everyone was coming and brought food and brought gifts. And one of my favorite parts was when different family groups would come into the gates of the compound with drums and with music, and they're chanting, and they bring money, they bring drinks, they bring food, and they're dancing in, and everyone's taking turns doing that. So like my dad's side came to my mom's side, and I came in with my dad's side, dancing in with them with music and food and drinks. And then, for example, my auntie, my mom's younger brother's wife, their family came, so she came in with them, dancing, cheering, and brought in music. And then my other distant family members would come in with their family. So it was amazing. The place was completely full, completely crowded. It was a very, very busy 9 days. I touched down in Lagos, and then from Lagos, I went straight to, didn't really spend much time in Lagos. So from Lagos International Airport, went to the local airport, and then flew from Lagos to River State. Spent like 3 days in River State. So the first day in River State, actually it was night by the time I got there, evening, was really chill. I just spent time with my mom's youngest brother and his wife, so my auntie and uncle. And my grandma actually moved back to Nigeria. I met her there. She actually traveled a couple of days before I did. So that was really cool because I haven't known my grandma, my mom's mom, in Nigeria. I've just always known her here. She came to the States when I was really young, maybe like 9, or even actually younger than 9. So I've always known her here, so it was really cool to see her back in her home where she grew up. And just really interesting to think about. So when I traveled to Nigeria as an adult in 2024, I stayed at my mom's dad's place, which is also my mom's place, my grandma's place. So that was actually her house that she lived in when she was married and had kids. So it was just really cool. So anyway, so I got there, and the night was really chill, and my grandma and auntie and younger cousins all went out. So it was just me, my uncle and auntie, and we just sat outside just eating and just talking about life and relationships and just soaking in all the wisdom from them. I feel something that's part of the culture is, there's a lot of wisdom that's passed down through storytelling. There's a lot of different adages. There's so much rich family history and cultural history. So I just love being there because I'm learning more about who I am. Like, this is, if I think about my DNA, it's coming from my mother and my father, and this is where they grew up essentially. So just learning more about myself in that way. But so the first night was chill. After that, it was so crazy. Just getting ready to travel and finishing up sewing the clothes and finishing up getting my measurements, then doing my hair and doing my nails and buying everything we need for the trip. And then I actually had to go early to go back to Anambra. So I went with public transport with my uncle's very, very close friend. So we went through public transport from River State to Anambra State. And then I met my other uncle there and my cousin, Chukwemeka, first cousin. It was fun, just really fun seeing them. They were the last 2 people that I spent time with. They actually accompanied me to the airport when I left Nigeria in 2025. So it was fun just seeing them again and getting ready for the funeral. It was so crazy. Like each day started at 5 a.m. and ended at 11 p.m. and I was already sleep deprived. Nigeria is 6 hours ahead. So I was just sleeping. Like anytime we were in the car going from one place to another, I would just be sleeping. Like I could not help it. But it was really fun and beautiful. The funeral I got there on a Friday into Nigeria, and then whole week went by. The first few days was was normal, but after that it was like everything was going so fast. The funeral was over Friday, and I left Anambra on Saturday and then went to Lagos on Sunday. And then I left Anambra on Saturday. I got to Lagos on Saturday, and then I left Lagos on Sunday. So, quick trip. I got back in December, middle of December, and then spent Christmas here in the States. So, that was pretty much, the holiday season was hectic, a lot going on. And then starting off this year, it has just been still a lot going on. I started a new job, so I feel like that's been taking up a lot of my time with lecturing now in person and just kind of learning the ropes a little bit and getting back to being in person. So a lot of different things has made this season really busy. But in this season, I just try to remind myself where real rest comes from. And I've noticed that comes from being in community with friends and people that I can feel encouraged from and can also be an encouragement to them. And just from being honestly in the Bible and scriptures and then in prayer. So a couple things that I've been doing I'll say it like this. There are some things that I do to try to find rest, like literally just relax, like after a long day of work or in between classes or when I have a short day like today, just kind of chill and, scroll and watch movies or read, just kind of chill and relax. But I've noticed that even with that, it does, just feel calming that I try to do that to get things off my mind, which does help, but I still don't actually really feel rested. Like at the end of the evening, once it gets close to evening or bedtime, I'm like, okay, back to reality. I start to think about work again and everything that I have to do. And I've noticed just being in the Word and in prayer is really, really actually relaxing to my soul and to my spirit. And that is something that I've just noticed with starting off this year. With the end of last year was really busy, but I feel like it's just gotten a lot more. So I think that one thing that I want to start doing with my podcast is just making the episodes shorter when it's just me. If I have guests, of course, just letting them tell their story, but I think just making it shorter and just talking about what's on my mind at that point. It might be long sometimes, depending on how much I have to say, but not feeling like it has to be a certain amount of time of just kind of saying what's on my mind. And honestly, I thought about if I want to keep going with my podcast and kind of what I want to do, just because it does take up some time to record and to edit and to put everything together. And then part of me is like, okay, who's actually really listening to my podcast? I know a few people do, my friends, my close friends and my family. And I realized and was reminded that I do enjoy, it's nice that people listen and bring it up, but then I'm just reminding myself that this is something that I want to do for myself, just to have like kind of a diary that I'm able to look back at and listen to of just the different transitions and seasons of life. Just even thinking back to my earlier episodes, that's when I was living in Ohio when I started it, essentially. And now I'm back in Atlanta. I'm closer to my family. I'm settling down here. So I've completely changed where I live and just came back home. So throughout the podcast, I'm able to capture different seasons because I'm putting out episodes every couple of weeks. So just being reminded that, okay, maybe not getting so many views and listens, but at the same time, it's something that I want to do for myself. So I just remind myself, just keep going. I think it'll be worth it and really cool to have in years when I'm able to look back. We'll see how long I'll go with this, or if I end up trying to go a different direction with it. But rest, what I was saying, I think that I've just noticed what is really restful to me, and just try to have that routine of prayer in the morning, of writing down my prayers. It's something I mentioned on TikTok recently, of something that I do every day, unless I miss like a day, which I did a couple days ago. But when I wake up, that's my routine. That's something I have to do to actually start my day. It's pushing me into my day of waking up and then writing down my prayers, and also puts me in a posture of gratitude, of being grateful that I even woke up, that my family and friends are okay, that they're healthy, that I have a job, that I'm provided for. Just putting me in that heart posture of thankfulness and gratitude and gratefulness, and then of bringing my supplications to God in that way. And that's something that's becoming increasingly important to me, of just being thankful, because there's so much bad in the world, and there's so many bad things, hard things happening, a lot of brokenness, and just being safe and protected and in good health. Same with my family and friends. There's a lot of reasons to thank God. So that's something that I do as often as possible to start my day, and that makes me feel rested going into my day. And then when I think about the end of my day, of course, just relaxing after work. What is really, really restful to my soul is spending time in prayer or church. I've been going to a church in Atlanta that has weekly Wednesday night Bible studies, and just seeing people and friends and being in the Word and talking about what the Word means, that actually feels restful to me. And I think about what Scripture is. It's the Word of God. God is my maker, creator of humans. So listening to His Word, it's essentially like taking in the words of the person who formed me, and that's transformative in my soul in a way that resting on the couch does not do for me. Just something that I've noticed. So I guess I would say, just to wrap up, pretty much just whatever I talked about the last few months of life, that the big picture in rest is essentially spending time with the one who made you. Okay, thank y'all for listening, and we'll see what I talk about in the next episode. Hope that everyone's having a happy new year so far.